Welcome to the Gazelle School of Business class on pricing piano services. This is one of many free resources we offer to the piano service industry that cover every topic you can imagine related to building and running a piano service business. So let's dive in. It's just tragic to confidently care for someone else's piano and yet lack confidence in your own pricing. And you know when this is, if you feel the tension every time you quote a price to a customer, lose a prospect customer, or fear a necessary price increase. I'm George, and today I'm here with Timothy Barnes, a registered piano technician and the co-founder of Gazelle. And today we're going to teach you how to have confidence and successfully price your services. Pricing piano services is easy if you, step one, ask the right questions. Step two, make it easy to understand. And step three, confidently price your services.
Hey, George, I'm glad to be here. And one of the things that is really important to talk about here first is price fixing and anti-competitive behavior. So trade groups receive extra scrutiny on this topic and are not allowed to set prices or even hint at any kind of price setting behavior, which is why you shouldn't hear folks talking about how much they charge at events sponsored by a trade group.
Now, Gazelle is not a trade group. We're just a service provider who wants to help you grow your business. But regardless, if the price you choose to charge is contingent on asking a colleague, what do you charge? Then you need to rethink your approach. So, what do you charge? No, don't answer that. Asking a colleague this question will create all kinds of unforeseen problems in your business. So that brings us to the first step you need to take when pricing your services. Ask the right questions. This is important because asking the wrong questions will always lead you to the wrong solutions. And we want to help you avoid these mistakes so you don't have to spend years copying others' mistakes or chasing all the wrong solutions and, frankly, getting nowhere. So here are the kinds of questions you need to be able to confidently price your services and embrace your own pricing strategy. The most important question you can ask is, do I plan to be profitable? There's a big difference between a business that is structured as a non-for-profit and a business that is not profitable. One covers its costs through donations from a strong group of supporters, and the other is a train wreck in slow motion.
And if you look closely at all pricing formulas, they account for profit in one way or another because profit is never an accident. In fact, it is the opposite. You have to plan for it. Businesses either accidentally lose money or intentionally generate profit. Unprofitable businesses don't survive, they fail. And we have an entire Gazelle School of Business video on just the profit part of your pricing formula called Building a Profitable Piano Service Business. So choose to be profitable because you work too hard to be broke. If you want to survive tomorrow or the next financial crisis, you have to choose to become profitable today.
And keep in mind, the goal is to know how much you need to charge to be profitable. Creating a pricing formula is just a shortcut to be able to say with certainty, I need to charge this much to provide this product or service profitably. If you can be confident of this one thing, it is so much easier to price any service and grow a profitable business.
And that leads us to the other part of the numerator in this pricing formula, total annual expense. And we have a resource you can download for this class that lists everything you need to consider in this number. But in short, if you do not account for an expense here, you will not get paid for doing that part of your business. So include everything. Tally up your total annual expenses, which includes your salary and benefits as a business owner, and add the amount of profit you want to generate in your business.
Now, moving on, the denominator in this formula is crucial because it's really easy to make a mistake and use the wrong number. This needs to be the number of billable hours you or your team are going to charge your customers each year. This is the actual time you spend in front of a customer's piano or in the shop working on a job. And consider that every full-time worker in your business has about 2,080 hours available each year. But because they are driving between appointments, running your business, taking some vacations, providing customer service, and engaging in non billable tasks, a full time freelance piano technician who works 2,080 hours a year, if you track it, is actually only doing about 900 billable hours a year. Now, if you have an employee, they can easily achieve more than 900 billable hours because they don't have to run the business. But nobody is perfect either, or nobody's perfectly efficient with their time. Any full time worker in your company can never get 2,080 billable hours a year unless they work a ton of overtime.
Oh, slide that got out of order there, George. So when you are calculating this total annual billable hours, be sure to estimate it properly. If you get this wrong, you will skew your outcome in the wrong direction. The biggest mistake you can make here is to accidentally use the total hours you plan to work this year instead of the billable hours you estimate you will spend doing billable jobs for paying customers. So don't make this common mistake.
But if you are confident of how much it costs you to do business, confident of how much profit you want, and the number of billable hours you or your team can produce each year, then you'll have a super handy hourly rate of profitability metric to use in your company. But this is not going to give you all the answers to all your questions. So the next question you need to ask is, what is my pricing strategy going to be? Because the price you need to charge for your services is not in a vacuum. It fits inside your local economy. It'll be compared to the other service providers in your area. And to understand how your prices will be received in your local economy, you have to understand the rule of thirds. If you were to spend 1,000 hours analyzing the purchasing behavior of every customer and prospect customer who inquired about your services, they would break into roughly 3 equal groups. So let me save you 1,000 hours. Price shoppers are motivated to find the lowest possible price, period. This is about people's personalities, not their bank accounts. Have you ever walked into $1 million house and found a really cheap piano and then they ask for a discount? These are the shoppers who will sacrifice quality so they can have the cheapest option. They don't care about your bells and whistles unless you throw them in for free. Now, value shoppers are the opposite of price shoppers. They're driven to find the highest quality, which they often identify as being the highest price. They're motivated to find the best, and price is not a barrier. They will not settle for anything less than the best. They either have unlimited resources or they're deeply in debt. This is the customer who says, yes, do everything before they even know how much it's going to cost. So finally is the swing shoppers. So a swing shopper is a value shopper at heart who doesn't have unlimited resources. These are people motivated by their own personal priorities. They invest in the things that are important to them by sacrificing things that are not. If you've ever seen a Ferrari in a Walmart parking lot, that's a swing shopper. They're buying some ramen noodles for dinner because for them, driving a Ferrari is better than eating the nicest food.
So, which third do you see yourself in? You should get to know yourself here because the thing is, it is hard for a swing shopper to relate to a value shopper. And it's also hard for two swing shoppers with differing priorities to relate to one another. And the same goes for price and value shoppers. In fact, these two types of customers are mutually exclusive of each other, which means you can never capture 100% of the market, regardless of your price. That is worth repeating. You can never capture 100% of the market, regardless of your price.
In fact, where your price falls relative to the others in your area will determine which segments of the market you're working in. If you're not the price leader, then you've lost the top third of the market. And if you're not the lowest, then you've lost all the price shoppers, leaving everyone else to fight over the swing shoppers. I think of Erasmus, who said, when I get a little money, I buy books. If any is left, I buy food and clothes. Now, hopefully, your customers are not trading food and clothes for a well serviced piano, but no doubt one day you're going to talk to a customer where the piano is literally the only nice thing they own. That's a swing shopper.
And as a service provider in the middle, it is a bloodbath. While there is little competition on the upper and lower end, if your services are priced in the middle of the pack, you will lose business to the lowest price provider on the one side, and you will also lose business to the highest price provider on the other. You will also have to fight everyone in the middle to win new customers.
And sometimes swing shoppers don't make great customers. Sometimes they're settling for you and would prefer to go with the price leader if they could. They just choose to save money on the piano so they could prioritize something else in their life. And when this is the case, you'll feel this tension every time you tell them they need to spend money on their piano.
And also consider that if you are the most expensive in your market, you will easily capture the top third of customers. But the truth is, you can easily convince some of the swing shoppers to go with you over someone else as well, mostly because deep down, they want to be able to afford your services. So the price leader in each market tends to easily win the best swing shoppers who care the most about their piano. And with a little more effort, they can easily capture half of the swing shoppers, which means as the highest price provider, about half of the time, you will hear prospect customers say yes. And the other half of the time, they're going to say, no, thanks. I found someone cheaper.
Now, theoretically, this means that if you, as the price leader, have a perfect batting average, then at most you can win two-thirds of the prospect customers who come your way. So, as the price leader, on your best day, only one-third of the people hang up on you or bounce from your website because of your price. Now, a lot of people think they're competing against the lowest price provider in the area. But the truth is, you compete just as much with the highest price provider as you do the lowest. The question for you is, where do you want to be? When it comes to your pricing strategy, you need to have clarity on the benefits, drawbacks, and unique opportunities of each pricing strategy.
So, once you understand the rule of thirds and how it influences your pricing strategy, it is important to ask the next logical question: what value am I promising to provide? Running a piano service business is all about promise and fulfillment cycles with your customers. If you are promising to be the cheapest in town, then you need to make sure you are always the lowest. On the other hand, if you are promising to be the consummate professional, then you need to know that the value shoppers often will not believe you unless your prices reflect this confidence. So, if you feel like you need help presenting the value of your services, watch our Gazelle School of Business video on selling your story, where we do a deep dive into how your business presents itself to your customers. Essentially, the stories you tell through your marketing need to reflect your price.
Which is going to bring us to our next question. How differentiated do I want to be? Price is just one of the ways you differentiate the value of your services. Rather than asking, what is my price? You need to be asking, how am I different? Because a business that gives away its product or services for free looks very different than one that charges thousands. And you have to do this both in person and online. Because as soon as you decide how differentiated you want to be, your website is going to be a big part of this. We have an entire class and video you can watch on building a powerful and simple website.
Another important question to ask is: do I plan to price all services equally? McDonald's makes twice as much profit on a soft drink and fries as they do the entree. You don't have to price all your services the same. You could decide that in order to be competitive, my most common service is going to have a common profit margin associated with it. However, my shop jobs all bring in more profit per hour because I choose to price them that way. And upselling work is a huge part of your life as a piano technician. So asking, how do I plan to quote jobs that have prices attached to them is the next pricing question you need to give some thought to, especially if this is going to be a big profit center for your business. And this is a big topic we will cover in more detail in just a minute.
So the next question you need to consider is, how often do I plan to adjust prices? If you plan to do this annually, then you'll account for any pricing errors and make adjustments once a year, including giving yourself a pay raise every year. But if you plan to adjust rates less often, then you need to consider the increased costs you'll incur between now and whenever you finally do raise your rates.
And lastly, will the market support my prices? Oftentimes, this question only gets asked if you are considering becoming the price leader in your area. You might be asking, is this rate even possible in my area? And you might even be a price leader who's considering becoming more of the price leader, right? And you find yourself asking, will the market support this price as you consider this decision? The truth is, there will always be a high price provider and a low price provider who easily capture their corner of the market. And then there is a bunch of people in between, and you are not the exception to this rule.
So here's the takeaway. In competitive markets, no two independent service providers should be priced exactly the same. In most cases, the market will support an entire array of prices and can even support a price leader who is leaps and bounds above everyone else, but only if this person is clearly differentiated from everyone else. And this leads us to step two, which is make it easy for customers to understand your prices. Every price you quote needs to be clear and very easy to understand. So let's talk about how you quote jobs and discuss prices over the phone and the website. And there is a warning here. If you make this too difficult to understand, you will create a decision tax. And the decision tax is the one tax nobody will pay. So there is something you desperately want to avoid. Because if you add a big enough decision tax to anything, including your prices, your customer literally decides to do nothing, because that's better than taking the time to figure it all out.
Yeah, and George, another thing on this is there's a decision tax to your branding and your value. So earlier we said you need to be differentiated, but it is entirely possible that in trying to differentiate yourself, you create new decision taxes for people. So keep it simple, make it easy. So, how do you know if your prices are creating a decision tax? And how do you get rid of it? Well, new customers are going to ask you about your price, either on the phone, by email, or they're going to look for it on your website. So if you are going to have to talk about it, don't make it complicated. Let's assume for a moment that you set up a scenario where, regardless of the services they schedule for their appointment, it is expected that the first thing you are going to do when you arrive at a new customer's house is you are going to promise to evaluate their piano and say, your piano was built for, say, this level of performance, but it is currently performing here. Now, at this moment in time, you have your customers' full attention because you opened a story loop in their brain by presenting a problem called My piano has a gap between its potential and its current condition. This sets you up to say, based off of my evaluation of your piano, I recommend this level of service because it meets all of your needs as an advancing musician. But we also have some other options you can consider. We could do this lower level of service, which is what you scheduled plus bare minimum repairs. But I don't recommend this because it is not going to meet all of your needs. And conditionally, we can do this level of service if you want your piano to perform at its best. Each level of service costs this much. All I need to know is if you have any questions and what level of performance you want to aim for with your piano.
So your job is not to protect your clients from the cost of neglecting their piano. Your job is to communicate clearly and honestly what their piano needs and how much you're going to charge to bring that piano up to a certain level of performance. Now, quickly creating these estimates for different types of pianos is a bit of an art, but suffice to say, this approach works really well for all kinds of situations. We have an entire class and video you can watch called Creating Estimates That Sell. Now, presenting services this way solves a specific problem all piano technicians face when trying to discuss prices and set expectations with new customers. Specifically, you are now free to quote your basic tuning price over the phone and promise to do a full evaluation and written estimate when you arrive. All you have to say is, the price for our basic tuning and seasonal service appointment is X. And when we arrive, we'll do a full evaluation of your piano. If additional repairs are needed, we'll provide you with a written estimate and give you the chance to ask any questions. And if we can't do anything or your piano needs more than we have time for that day, we'll do what we can or charge you a consultation fee that can be applied towards future repairs should you decide to schedule any recommended services. Do you have any questions, or would you like to schedule an appointment?
If you present your services this way, your customers will have confidence that my initial service call will be X. It might be more, but they will give me a written estimate. And if I need time to think about a repair, I can just pay the consultation fee and have it credited towards future repairs if I decide to move forward within this time frame. So that sounds reasonable. Let's book. Quoting prices does not need to cause tension on the phone. Never at any point in this conversation did I need to mention the word pitch raise, regulation, voicing, or anything like that to a new or prospect customer. You don't even need to use these words when doing your in person presentation. If they don't like your price for each of your packages, you still get paid a consultation fee. But most of the time, the opposite happens. Your clarity results in more customers choosing to invest in their piano.
And if you present your services this way, you quickly learn the kind of shopper they truly are. A value shopper is not going to skip a beat. They'll say, do everything before you've even done explaining what everything entails. They often only look at the total price and then write a check. Your swing shopper is going to pause because you just presented them with two problems. First, they need to decide again whether the piano is important. Then they need to figure out what funds they're going to free up to do a specific level of service. Because of this, selling to a swing shopper requires a little more work and some patience. And you don't need to worry about price shoppers. They'll look for the bare minimum they can get away with and then try to negotiate down to an even lower price. You don't have to negotiate with them if you don't want to. You can just charge them for a consultation fee and walk away. Now, Gazelle helps you eliminate the decision tax and makes everything easy to understand for your customers. This gives you freedom to have a frank and honest conversation about the unique needs of their piano and what you can do to make it better. This translates into more sales, regardless of how much you ultimately decide to charge for your services. Which leads us to step 3. Make confident decisions every time you price your services. Because the truth is, customers can tell when you're not confident in your price. And when this happens, they perceive this as an opportunity to take advantage of you or a risk of doing business with you. But when you confidently provide them with a polished presentation they can understand and a written estimate, well, the entire narrative and dynamic of the relationship changes.
Because if you are confident that the minimum you can charge for anything is your cost plus profit, it does not matter if someone in the area is less than this. If you charge less than your rate for profitability, then you cannot be profitable. You will lose money and go out of business. But you also know that there is a wide range of prices the market will support. The only difference between those at the top and those at the bottom is how differentiated they choose to be in every part of their business and who their target market is focused on. And if your pricing strategy is to always charge an average amount for an average service, this is an option. The point is this: the price others charge has nothing to do with what you should charge. The pricing strategy you decide to use is totally up to you, but it does have everything to do with how hard you are going to have to work to differentiate your business from those super low cost providers. And if people are asking you bluntly, why are you more expensive than somebody else? then you are not differentiated enough. They might be saying your prices are too high, but more than likely they're saying there is a mismatch between the price you are quoting me for your services and the perceived value of your services.
So, how do I successfully change prices? Because you probably have a group of customers that you need to change rates on, especially if your prices have not kept up with your modern day costs of doing business. To successfully do this, you need to understand that price changes affect each shopper differently. And depending on what others in your area are currently charging, if you change prices, price shoppers will complain and leave, unless you're still the low cost provider, in which case they'll complain and begrudgingly stay. But regardless, this is what price shoppers do.
Swing shoppers will feel the pain, make the adjustments in their budget, and stay. While they will feel the price change, they usually will not complain or leave unless they are already unhappy with your services.
And value shoppers will stay, smile, give you a tip, and then give you a 5-star online review. The only time you lose value shoppers is when they feel they can get a better experience or outcome elsewhere.
And it you need to consider that you might be changing tribes. If this is the case, you don't have to raise rates on all existing customers immediately. If you look at your cost of doing business for profitability and you decide, I need to be this price, but that is going to make me the price leader, and you're currently in the middle of the pack, you could say, I'm just going to raise prices and raise rates on all new customers today and slowly raise rates on existing customers over time. Now, if this is you, it is a strategy that allows whole new tribe of customers to slowly start replacing your current ones.
And you might find changing your price is a non issue. This happens when you're in the invisible middle. You might fear changing prices will be a big deal to your customers, but the reality is sometimes it doesn't even get noticed by anyone in your area, not even your existing customers. You can confidently price your services. Altogether, this simple change in your business can make all the difference in the world. So, design a pricing strategy that works for you and allows you to be profitable. Just gather some data and follow the steps we outlined earlier. Regardless of your approach, don't question yourself every time you quote a job. Constantly second guessing yourself and not being confident in your price is going to harm your reputation, make it difficult to sell jobs, and ultimately degrade your ability to run a profitable business. Nobody deserves this. You can go from someone who thought they had to ask what others charge in order to price your services to a confident business owner who is confident and does not feel the need to second guess yourself every time you discover someone charges a different rate than you. Now, Gazelle School of Business is a free resource that covers every topic you can imagine related to building and running a piano service business. Here at Gazelle, we focus on technicians that are frustrated by inefficient scheduling of appointments, struggling to keep up with sending out technicians and estimates and invoices on time, and lacking enough monthly revenue to consistently be profitable. And the team at Gazelle is excited to help you find the tools you need to save your time and wow your customers so you can focus on growing your business and doing what you enjoy most.